Howdy, 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 my name is Untitled Chapter. Welcome back, finally, to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read Scouring Hive, an exploratory vehicle, collocated rock, and Mr. Forgetful, and also Dust Embodied. So, in this one we're going to be doing the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Autonomous SWAT Armor, Mr. Hungry, the Clockworks, and the Mechanotesseractic Computer. There are a lot of little misters in the 900s. Dang. There's going to be one in this episode and one in next episode. Two in next episode, if I'm counting that right. And then it's going to stop for a while. Does it keep going? Oh, there's another one. And... yeah, okay, so. Let's check out that there Book of the Dead. What's it going to be? Better not be Keter. Okay. It's Euclid. SCP-911 is to be stored in a locked high-value item containment box. Dayquil that seems like a bit much for Dayquil. Okay. It is not to be handled with bare skin unless being used in an experiment. Researchers are warned to take extreme caution when dealing with subjects created by the Book of the Dead, due to the possibility of contamination by probably the Book of the Dead. See the addendum. Will it explain? They expunged it, so probably not. I'll be surprised if the addendum is even there. SCP-911 is a papyrus scroll of the Egyptian Book of the Dead, dating from approximately 1375 BCE. I believe that's before Common Era, because they stopped wanting to say before Christ, which is weird that that's what BC was. But anyway, analysis has not shown any anomalous composition of materials. When a living human makes skin contact with the Book of the Dead scroll thing, in 90% of cases their personality, memory, and higher brain functions, consciousness for lack of a better term, are drawn into the scroll, leaving a body with no higher brain function. Unless kept on life support, affected subjects die of dehydration in approximately 3 days. That seems like a weird thing for the Book of the Dead to do. There is a 10% chance that contact with the Book of the Dead will exchange the mind and personality of the subject, making contact with that of one previously stored in the scroll. Personae recovered from the Book of the Dead are described in 911.1, and these subjects must be kept in Foundation custody both for study and their own safety. Only disposable dudes should be used in an experiment with 911 due to the low probability of ever recovering the consciousness of the original subject. Due to the interview with Subject 4, no further experimentation is to take place without O5 approval. Okay, Subject 1, inhabiting the body of Agent Blank who discovered it at blank blank blank. One claims to be a librarian from the Royal Library of Alexandria captured by 911 circa 180 BCE. Subject retains no memory of his captivity. After recovering from the shock of being transported over 2,000 years into the future, the subject has been quite cooperative and provided a considerable amount of useful historical background on his era. Researchers speaking the appropriate dialect of Greek are welcome to interview him. Subject 2, formerly Disposable 16173, they claim to be King Blank of Blank, a noted collector of ancient manuscripts who suffered a mysterious fate in 1327. Whether or not he is lying about his identity is currently under dispute by several of his interviewers. Subject 3, formerly 16292, Subject 3 has provided no useful information as to his identity or origin. Subject is apparently insane due to long-term dissociation and sensory deprivation, and screams incoherently in medieval French if the environment darkens below approximately 1,000 lumens. Subject 4, formerly Disposable 16544, they are Professor Blank Blank, documented as having been found dead while doing research on ancient languages December 5th, 1931. He claims to have been sentient during his entire captivity and to have maintained his sanity through meditation and strength of will. Interview with the professor. How were you captured by the object? I was researching the usage of some hieroglyphs and touched the manuscript. Next thing I knew, I was floating in an endless void. Which is, the void is comparably similar to SCP-3001 recorded by Dr. Scranton. Investigation into possible links between the two are ongoing. What was it like while you were there? Or where you were? Empty. Featureless. Nothing to do but float. There were others, but most of them are drifting, forever asleep. Occasionally a portal opened and some new soul drifted in. If you were awake, why couldn't you leave before you did? The portal would only open for a few seconds. Sometimes one of the sleepers would drift out by chance. They were always near it, and only one could go through. We'd have to fight through the crowd, and I guess it took years for me to make it in time. Besides, we had to avoid him. Him? The Blank. The one who made that place. He would merge with anyone he could capture. All they knew would be part of him and lost to the world. He's mad, screaming for thousands of years, nothing but screaming. He screams about the collective. He thinks it will make him God, but it will be nothing but madness. All that he learns, he screams into the void. The blank. Why hasn't he left? He's waiting for the right time, the right body. He knows of you. He merged with one of your agents. He screams about SCPs now and how he must merge with SCP blank and SCP blank. The Foundation will save him. It made no sense at the time, but I understand now. They are people or things in your possession. They will make him data expunged. Don't let him out. Never let him out. Interview ended. Subject 4 began crying. And then 3. Interviews with 2 have described an entirely different environment inside this scroll. However, 2 also speaks of a malevolent, insane entity. In light of this, the Foundation has taken measures to data expunged. O5 command order experimentation on 9/11 to cease without clearance from 2 or more O5 level personnel upon reading a transcript of this interview. This feels like a perfect SCP to just destroy. Like, there are a lot of SCPs that are really dangerous, that are very easily disposed of, and they just don't. I don't know, maybe they think if they burn it, all the souls will come out, and the guy will be free, and he'll be like, oh boy, I get to take these SCPs, whee! But it's still worth trying. Or at the very least, just locking it in water or something, because I think Papyrus can take water pretty well. I don't know anything about Papyrus, other than the skeleton dude from Undertale. So, autonomous SWAT armor. If you want to load, and then the ad will happen, and then we can continue reading. Any second now, or are you going to wait until I start reading? SCP-912 is to be kept at Research Unit blank in a standard containment cell. The cell door must have a damage-resistant rating of 3A or above. Direct physical handling of 912 causes a potentially dangerous reaction and should be avoided except as a part of an authorized testing protocol. I'm going to assume it tries to take bodies. All researchers involved in 912 must receive briefing on 2A, safe handling, and 2B, dealing with arrest behavior by 912. In the event of an arrest by 912, researchers are to offer minimal resistance and await rescue by an associate wearing the uniform of blank PD. Experiments that involve the use of firearms or the CQ firing range require authorization from Dr. Somebody at least 24 hours in advance in order to permit route clearance and scheduled deconfliction. Description: SCP-912 consists of several items of police-issue body armor, clothing, and equipment that together form a discrete entity capable of independent movement and action. Action! Both the method by which this ability has been acquired and means by which it is achieved have yet to be identified. The elements that comprise 912 conform to the standards of uniform worn by the blank PD SWAT as of blank 2000-something, the approximate time of date of acquisition. Uniform elements float in midair as though worn by a man or woman around 175 centimeters, 6'1" in height. Thank you, person who wrote this, for telling me both. But no such presence can be detected. 912 does not directly respond to communication attempts, but it will follow simple orders in English given by personnel wearing the uniform of an officer of the blank PD. 912 consists of the following: 1 dark gray blank PD ballistic helmet with transparent face protecting visor, 1 black Nomex tactical balaclava from unknown manufacturer, 1 set navy blue blank PD blank tactical body armor from Blank Armor Limited, SWAT insignia printed on front and back. Includes several ammo/grenade/storage pouches, all apparently empty, though 912 resists inspection. 1 pouch contains plastic cuff restraints. Supply seems to remain constant regardless of arrests made. 1 pair of black knee pads for Blank Armor Limited. Elbow pads from Blank Armor Limited. 1 pair of blank steel-toed capped combat boots from unknown manufacturer. 1 black pair of combat gloves by Blank Armor Limited. Closed and fastened pistol holder suitable for a mid-sized firearm from unknown manufacturer. And a telescopic steel baton. The handle is apparently made from hardened plastic with a textured grip. In its default state, 912 has been assessed to pose no hazard to health, security, or risk of escape when handled in accordance with 912-2A and 2B. If the command arrests subject by a person wearing the uniform of blank PD, or in the event, or if given, or in the event that 912 detects an armed individual or individuals within its visual radius, it will commence arrest behavior. 912 will attempt to disarm and restrain the subject upon the ground, then secure their arms behind their back using a pair of plastic cuffs. The force used in the process of this arrest greatly exceeds blank PD SWAT guidelines and statutory procedures. 912 frequently inflicts injury to the neck, shoulder, and arms of the arrested individual due to the apparent unawareness or indifference to the mechanical limitations of human anatomy. Resistance on the behalf of the individual being arrested causes a corresponding increase in force until cessation. So if they go, hey man, what the heck? There go their shoulder blades. 912 will attack should it detect threatening or hostile behavior towards itself or an individual wearing the uniform of the blank PD. It deploys its telescopic steel baton and approaches the nearest armed subject at an average speed of 5 km per hour. If the armed subject drops the weapon and ceases threatening behavior before 912 moves into combat range, the normal arrest procedure will be initiated. If the subject initiates hostile action or is still holding the weapon when 912 enters combat range, 912 will strike powerful blows at the head and upper arms of the subject for up to a minute after the subject loses consciousness. Once all armed subjects are subdued, arrest behavior proceeds as normal. 912 considers the following to be weapons and will initiate attack behavior upon sight: firearms, bladed weapons, batons, clubs, and similar blunt instruments, tasers and pepper spray, redacted, and joy buzzers. 912 will initiate attack behavior when the following are used in a threatening manner: power and hand tools, knotted rope, length of chain, brass knuckle, sports equipment, clipboard. 912 only permits an individual it has arrested to be removed from its presence by a person wearing the uniform of the blank PD. An individual wearing the appropriate uniform is not to be detained by 912 regardless of armament, except where physical aggression is shown towards another subject wearing blank PD uniform. 912 does not react to hostile actions by blank PD uniform personnel towards non-uniform victims, and does not react to hostile actions between armed individuals not wearing blank PD uniform, regardless of injuries sustained. Summary of test results. Test: remote operated vehicle with cutting tool activates and approaches disposable person. No response. Test terminated when the cutting tool when it was 1.5 centimeters from their throat. Either 912 does not consider the ROV a threat, or doesn't care about the fate of the D-class subject. Test protocols amended on hygiene grounds. Same vehicle approaches the same person. They're now wearing a blank PD uniform. 912 attacked the ROV when the cutting tool came within 2 feet of the subject. The attack continues until ROV deactivated remotely and stand down command given by 3117. 912 does not appear to modify behavior in response to a non-humanoid threat. Test: D-3073 wearing a D-class uniform ordered to simulate attacking 3075 wearing a D-class uniform. No response. Appeared to be utterly indifferent even when 3073 accidentally made full contact with 3075 and inflicted a nosebleed. Wearing a blank PD, also wearing a D-class. No response, as suspected based on the evidence in the acquisition report. Wearing the D-class, wearing the uniform. Attacked 3073 with a telescopic baton until unconscious, then restrained them. They were hospitalized with a broken jaw. This went largely as expected. However, when 3075 attempted to intervene to prevent further harm to 3073, accidentally placed his right hand onto the left arm cavity of 912. They were immediately set upon by 912 and beaten to death with the telescopic baton and boots. It seems that 912 will not tolerate violation of the space enclosed by the constituent equipment no matter what uniform is worn. 3118 armed with a knife and 3119 armed with a pistol ordered to attack 3126. Ordered to drop weapon before contact. 912 moved towards D-class subject as soon as the weapon is exposed. 3119 initial focus of attention until the weapon dropped, at which point 912 attacked 3118, who was disarmed violently. The right hand and forearm suspected fractured, right index finger amputated in a struggle. 3119 initially resists arrest by 912 and has both shoulders dislocated during restraint procedure. Has halted and D-class personnel removed for medical treatment. Comment: 912 places greater emphasis upon guns than melee weapons. Finer insight into the threat hierarchy is achievable, but would involve needless waste of D-class personnel. Testing of 912 in a SWAT-style tactical environment is currently ongoing. Agents Blank, Blank, and Blank have prior SWAT team experiences and are preparing appropriate scenarios on behalf of Dr. Blank. You know, when I made the comparison of if they resist arrest, there go their shoulder blades, I didn't know that they were going to actually do that in the article itself. That was just the example I came up with. Now it's time for Mr. Hungry. And he's Dr. Wondertainment Cell. SCP-913 is to be contained in a customized humanoid containment cell lined with... There's the ad. Olive Garden. Don't make me crave breadsticks. Get out of here. 913 is to be provided with standard humanoid furnishings with pre-recorded entertainment materials provided on request. Access to the cell may be conducted through a reinforced carbon steel door. Once every 2 hours, SCP-913 is to be provided with one nutritional supplement as outlined in Document 2. 913 is fitted with a central venous catheter to facilitate nutrition. The subject is to be provided with intravenous nutritional supplements while sleeping. The catheter is to be changed once every 3 months. As of current regulations on Misters, 913 is to be contained in Hall Blank of Site Blank. SCP-913 appears to be a middle-aged African-American male with an extremely fast metabolism. 913 requires the recommended daily caloric intake for a normal human every 2 hours, and has an internal temperature of redacted. SCP-913 will enter a trance state if not fed the specific amount of calories in a 2-hour period. While affected, 913 will break down and ingest any solid matter within sight. This ingestion can include normally indigestible matter such as wool, plastics, and metals, and does not distinguish between living subjects and other material. This hunger state will force 913 to awaken if sleeping. 913 is aware of his actions while in this state and expresses extreme discomfort following the ingestion of denser materials. SCP-913 can rend objects with an estimated force of 3,000 newtons, and can bite objects with an estimated force of 5,000 newtons while eating. 913 is unable to display this strength outside of his trance state. Examination of 913's liver tissue shows that it will produce new enzymes in response to foreign material. These enzymes will metabolize the substrate at approximately 98% efficiency, effectively detoxifying any drugs or toxins. This includes amnestics and anesthetics. 913 was discovered at entrance expunge of Site Blank. Addendum 1. The words Mr. Hungry from Little Misters by Dr. Wondertainment are tattooed upon 913's right calf. Upon discovery, 913 had been wearing a shirt and dress pants, both with the brand name Doctor's Orders sewn into their tags. The designation appears as 7 in Document 909A. Alright, cool. The clock works. That sounds sinister, but it's safe. Looks sinister too, but it's safe. Hi again, Olive Garden. I haven't eaten yet. Don't do that. Only personnel who submit a formal request and receive approval from Site Command may operate 914. Wait a minute. Isn't 914 the... Yep. It's... Okay, yeah, I've read this before. When I was gearing up to do the containment breach, I've read this before. So... I'm not going to read it again, because I have the experiment log set aside to read in a SCP sidestep. So let's just move on to the Mechano-Tesseract Computer. Okay, it's Euclid. All explorations of the interior... Okay. Get out of here. All explorations of the interior of 915 must be documented, with a complete manifest of all personnel and equipment to be taken into 915. Declarations of intent to explore the interior or experiment with the computational abilities of 915 must be declared 1 week in advance. No interior explorations can take place while the computational abilities of 915 are being tested. Also, no computation tests can be initiated while exploration or maintenance is taking place within. All interior explorations are to be limited to a period of 1 hour. Longer forays require special dispensation from the lead researcher Dr. Foudre. All explorers are to be physically linked to a high-density nylon cord which is anchored at a point outside of 915. It sounds like it's a computer version of that pipe room from way early on that reminded me of the Freddy Krueger movies, but worse. Standardized testing protocols of the specifications of 915 are to be applied. R2 applied? I feel like it's supposed to be R2B applied to both 915 and the block of computers which are considered experimental controls. These control computers are specified as model HP Slimline S3600F. Description: SCP-915 is a mechanical computation device with a highly non-Euclidean internal configuration. It was the result of experimentation involving the effect of blank blank upon SCP-914. Despite appearing entirely mechanical, 915 completely replicates the capabilities of the input device, one HP Slimline S3600F desktop computer. It appears that 915's exceptional topology makes these computational specifications possible. The current theory suggests that extensive outpocketing in space and time allows computations per second that will be associated with a mechanical device to be superseded. The exterior is a metal cube with size 1.3 meters in length. Plastic inserts can be found on all edges, presumably as a safety measure to prevent contact with sharp metal seams. One side of the metal cube is able to be removed, allowing access into the interior. Opposite this access point is an articulated metal arm leading up to 915's display. This metal arm is composed of several pistons which have the effect of precisely changing the tapestry that is the primary element of 915's display. The display consists of a tapestry woven in an extremely dense fashion held inside a metal enclosure. Despite the density of the tapestry, it is still able to be manipulated by mechanical arms inside the enclosure to a high degree of precision. This precise manipulation is able to fundamentally alter the appearance of the tapestry in controlled ways. Note, due to its effect on RA-915A, a continued research involving the knot theory at work in 915's display has been suspended, Dr. Valdre. The interior is a mass of gears and clockwork, as well as the more esoteric mechanical components used in computation. A constant mechanical drone, as well as deeper sounds of grinding, can be heard within 915. These sounds all experience modulation and distortion, predicted to be the result of the non-standard topology 915 possesses. It maintains passageways through its interior, presumably to assist in the occasional maintenance. When it requires maintenance, it will display a summary of the required repair, as well as displaying a map leading to the site within where the maintenance is required. The interior of 915 experienced constant shifts, making navigation very difficult. Further, maintaining radio contact is complicated by the topology of 915, often leading to delays and weakening of transmission only a few meters from the entrance. While some success has been accomplished using physical contact, such as high-density nylon cord, instances have been recorded where the cord has been severed, embedding in portions of 915's interior, or with portions seemingly curled back upon themselves with the ends somehow fused together. The interior is often unsettling to subjects and investigators. Many cases of disorientation, nausea, and fainting have been reported within 915. It is indeterminate how much of these symptoms are a result of the sensory corruption due to the non-Euclidean nature of 915, and how much is the direct effect on humanity of exposure to locally non-flat spacetime. The internal configuration of 915 appears to be related to computations performed by the device, with more extensive computations requiring a larger degree of internal reorganization. The power source of 915 seems to be infalling air from the exterior environment. The source of this pressure gradient and the ultimate disposition of the infalling gas is indeterminate at this time. See Appendix 915A. Here it is! Team 915J5 found the edge of the interior of 915. They described it as a great wall of blackness. They said it swallowed the light from their flashlights, but it seems more probable that there simply wasn't anything for the lights to reflect off of. Further, the team described an eerie whistling as a wind from the interior blew out to the void. Is this a possible power source? Is the interior of 915 suspended in a large void, and it derives power from the pressure gradient between our atmosphere and this vacuum? Further investigation is warranted, assuming we can find the edge again, of course. 915B. Dr. Snorrelson was recently lost within the interior of 915 for over a month. Despite this, his body showed no signs of dehydration or malnutrition. However, other ancillary factors such as hair growth indicated he experienced several months of subjective time while within 915. Further investigation is warranted, however, Dr. Snorrelson is being reassigned and will not be available to experiments for comment. See, I've decided to release some of my assistant's research notes in light of recent events involving Researcher 915C. In light of this investigation taken of the material related to the research of this device, as well as the further anomalous events originating in the interior of 915, research on 915 has been suspended at this time. It seems interactions with SCP-915 tend to fall into two categories. Most reject the non-Euclidean geometry that it displays, ending with a surface appreciation of these traits and mental equilibrium intact. However, a few cases have emerged of researchers and agents internalizing their experience with 915 in a way detrimental to their mental health. Further, it appears intimate knowledge of the workings of 915 may allow one so affected to induce preternatural effects in one's environment. We've taken steps to determine who is most susceptible to this damaging insight. While no concrete results have emerged, current evidence suggests that mathematicians and artists concerned with appreciation and understanding of space and shape are the most likely to internalize the experience of 915. Personal log of G seems to be its own separate page. Excerpts of the personal log of Researcher Assistant 915G. SCP involved 915. The purpose of this first excursion is, well, to fix 915. 2 weeks ago, it reported a need to replace gasket Epsilon Droog and printed a map of a portion of its interior in addition to necessary instructions to repair. The first impression I got of the interior of 915 is the noise. Voices, even when the source is within 2 feet, seem deadened. Inflection is lost as though the air were somehow thicker. However, the operation of 915 produces a wide menagerie of sounds. Additionally, each sound seems altered. It reminds me of that clip I heard in college, Lucifer something. Annotation, I'm recalling Alvin Lucier's I am sitting in a room. Even the deep sounds that I think might come from large hydraulic actions have a distinct buzz. There's also a very high-pitched hum that fades in and out. Mercifully, it's never very loud. It does play havoc with understanding what some of the team says, though. This excursion is considered a success. We followed the map precisely, and the gasket was repaired. Now Dr. Foudre has us entering 915 to wander around. Technically, we've been mapping and cataloging portions of the interior. We use spray paint laced with a form of radioisotope to do the tagging. Foudre hopes that, perhaps, we can start to identify patterns in the geometry of 915. It's so relentlessly mechanical, perhaps the non-Euclidean following reciprocating cycles as well. We lost a member of the team. No one can quite explain how it happened. The team leader thinks we noticed it only a few seconds after it happened, but how can he be sure? At 13:45, when we set up the ideogram, he was there. At 13:52, D4605 reported that someone was missing. Her count wasn't correct. It was soon established that the missing party was D3354. The team leader immediately checked the nylon cord for cuts. There were none, despite the fact that the connection point was missing. This is very speculative, but it seems the cord was folded back on itself in extra-dimensional space so that the portion of the cord containing the connection point was... guess the best way to put it would be butted off. The team leader had us leave the interior once we established the nylon cord was intact. Surprisingly, it only took us 10 minutes of travel time to reach the entrance. Also, the system we put in place seemed to be subverted by 915's internal geometry. Each member of the team is equipped with transponders that constantly broadcast an IFOF tag and constantly keep track of each team member's IFF. The transponders of the team didn't stop receiving 3554's tag until 4:03. Okay, same day. All experiments probing the capabilities of 915 have been halted for the time being, so rotating teams can conduct a 24-hour search of the interior. That's all we get. Though the capabilities of 915 replicate in every respect a modest Hewlett-Packard personal computer, the overseers wish to continue to test if 915 is capable of being coaxed to do more performance. Or to more performance. Well, we finally found samples of our radioisotope. It's keyed to 3354's can. The weird thing, though, is that it's not the Foundation-approved ideogram. Perhaps it's an attempt at communication on the part of 3354? The disturbing part is how childish the scrawl looks. It almost looks like whoever made this was finger painting. I'm at a loss to what it means. We've put each person exposed to the interior of 915 through extensive psychological testing, and there's been no evidence of any intelligence reduction. A few days later, the fingerprints are not those of 3354. They're not of any Foundation employee. What? We found a child's tea set. Well, we found what looked like a teapot and cups. They were made of gears? There was a table too. It looked like it was made of pistons and hydraulic chambers with an exterior wire mesh. We found a clockwork doll nearby, about 1 foot in length. It looks like it had been damaged or thrown. The arm is detached, and there is a few pieces of damaged clockwork around where it lay. There was tea in the teapot. It was warm. The conclusion is starting to seem undeniable that somehow the interior of 915 has been subverted by either a group or individual unaffiliated with the Foundation. Okie dokie. That sounds strange, but that about does it for this episode of Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the next one, we're going to be doing Man's Best Friend, Mr. Moon, Baby Mill, which already sounds uncomfortable, Needy Mirror, and Mr. Lost. If you liked it, a like and subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you don't need to do either one of those things, and I will see y'all in the next one. Later.